All right, and welcome to Hat-Trick Sports Talk, our Week 6 post show. I am joined today by Brandon for this one. How are you doing today, man?
Pretty good.
Fun slate of games today. Shane and Connor unfortunately couldn't be with us here today as we were recording this pretty late around 10:30. But either way, let's get it started. Do you want to do your hot take segment first, or do you want us to go through some of the games and then go through some of the hot
I
takes?
think let's go through some of the games and then we can wrap up with the hot take segment.
All right, perfect. So we're gonna try to do a new hot take segment where we have scenarios. I don't know what I'm gonna do hot take wise, but we'll see as we go through. First, let's start with Sunday Night Football, as we always do, the Rams and the Niners. So here's my thought about this game. My thought about this game was the Niners felt kind of like 2019 Niners, and the Rams felt kind of like 2019 Rams. Is that kind of what this game was signifying to you, or what did you learn from this one?
Yeah, it felt very similar, It wasn't at all a good game.
No, it was not. It wasn't interesting in the second half
It
virtually at
it
all.
it didn't really hold up to the Sunday Night Football moniker.
No. Did we expect it to, though? In all honesty, we
Yeah,
really didn't.
no, because honestly, I mean, let's be honest, we all kind of expected it to go one way or the other.
Mm-hmm.
Um, I personally did not see San Francisco winning tonight,
Mm-hmm.
but part of that is because I've been um, bamboozled by their loss last week to the Dolphins.
I mean, everyone is.
You
So,
know, at the end of the day, you have to ask the question: how good is the NFC West?
it's
It's
a
pretty
fair
trash,
question. It's a fair
except for the
question.
Seahawks. Like,
Well, and here's why it's a fair question. Arizona, you know, we'll see tomorrow night, but I think we're all, or at least I am, a bit down on where I was with Arizona at the beginning of the year. The main thing with the Rams is I think Shane was right last week when he said, or on Friday when he said they haven't really played that many good teams, and I think it showed tonight. To be fair, I don't know what they are yet. And with the Niners, I've said this all year, I don't know what their identity is. I don't know what they're trying to do. Sure, I think their identity is a guy like Mostert or McKinnon now, with the Mostert injury, but defensively they don't really have an identity, and it I think it's that simple. I think the NFC West is in some ways, other than the Seahawks, in a little bit of an identity crisis. We just kind of don't know what the teams are, and that's sort of how I feel 6 weeks in.
yeah, I think that's fair. I think like I gave them 3 weeks, right? I gave them 3 weeks to um before I started really criticizing them because of the because of the pandemic, and because of the situation we're in. But we're 6 weeks in now. This was week 6, and man, some of these teams look really bad.
Well, I mean, let's say for the Niners' sake here, I mean, yeah, Garoppolo was injured. He should like Chris Collinsworth, props to him. He was talking about sort of the foot planning of Garoppolo and how that affects with the high ankle sprain. Garoppolo shouldn't have played last week. That's just the reality. He shouldn't have, but he did. And I
I
could
mean,
I
yeah,
I could make an argument that he probably shouldn't have even played tonight. Like I still
well,
feel like he was forcing it a little, like in terms of the foot
yeah.
placement thing. Like it
I
wasn't
mean,
perfect.
speaking of Al Michaels and Chris Collinsworth, good lord, I want to know who was paying them from the 49ers staff, because like they were going out of their way to like
Yeah.
heap praise on Garoppolo, and I'm like,
It wasn't. It was a quintessential good Garoppolo game. It wasn't one of those games where it just kind of knocks your socks off.
there was nothing to praise about either quarterback tonight.
No, I mean the main thing that I look at with the Niners is okay. The only thing that I'm really starting to realize is okay, they're a running football team.
Yeah,
And they run and that's one of the amazing things about the Niners is they run in very unique ways. You know, they can run with Debo, they can run with that seems to be their philosophy, and we've seen it. We saw it last year, but like again, they're not going to win a Super Bowl playing like that.
Right,
I'm
yeah,
sorry,
no.
they're just not. They're like,
and like we've had this conversation.
we had it last year in the playoffs.
Exactly.
We had the
saw
same conversation.
the exact same situation happen for the 49ers in the Super Bowl where they like can't get it done. They were so stacked on the defensive side of the ball that they were able to make it to the end in like not. But going to the Rams, who lost the game tonight. I've said we had this conversation on Friday when we asked, will we see the Rams being exposed, basically? And I just have to say, the Rams are who I thought they were. They're not this God-defeating team. They're not this.
Well, I'm not saying that they are.
Team. They only had beaten NFC East teams.
Yeah, but
they're not good.
No, but like the reality is like all of the problems from last year kind of come to pass. It's like, okay, can like in all honesty, this is not from a fantasy perspective. Figure out the running back situation here. Yeah. Like this running back by committee thing, while I did love it for the first 3 weeks, it showed its weaknesses. And Goff looked kind of lost at points in this game. And yeah, his receivers weren't amazing other than Robert Woods today, but like
it's one of those things I think. Sorry to interrupt you, but it's one of those things where all the things we've talked about over the last 2 years with the Rams and with Goff have kind of come all to fruition in this.
Same with the Niners last year. Same thing. We're having the same conversation over again, and it's like, okay, is this just? I guess maybe those are their identities. I guess.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, I, as a Seahawks fan, find myself coming all the way back to people talking about the Seahawks. Like, as a team, I've been hearing a lot of people going, oh, the Seahawks have a really good offense, but can they make it to the Super Bowl? Can they defeat people? The Seahawks are light years ahead of any team in the NFC West.
Even with a bad Dolphins performance, I agree with you, other than to say this. The Seahawks schedule over the next 4 weeks is filled with NFC West teams. The reality is
what happens. I mean,
well, hang on. The reality is we know how this works, right? And we saw it against the Dolphins. We saw it against the Vikings. Like the problem with the Seahawks is we know how this works. And we know that this is going to be a couple of losses here because I would disagree with that. The NFC West, like honestly, the NFC West knows this, like as a whole knows each other so well, especially when you talk about the Seahawks, that they're not going to win every game in a heartbeat or by 7.
Obviously, they're not going to go. Obviously, not going to go 16-0.
But no, this team isn't built to do that at all.
Here's my thing: the Seahawks are a team that could easily still go 13-3, 14-2, 12-4.
I go 11-5, 12-4 at this point.
I think they'll be 12-4, and I think they'll have those 4 games will be like some BS, like end of the game shenanigans or something. Because the thing is,
it's gonna be.
This team, as bad as people talk about them, this is a team that they give up a lot of yards, but not a lot of points.
So 2 things, and this is okay. So the 2 things with the Seahawks is we always have some kind of problem with their defense. The reality is they're not.
Well, I don't,
but here's the basic issue with the Seahawks and why I still think they're Super Bowl contenders, but why I have a hard time believing they can hoist the Lombardi Trophy is because you gotta stop. You gotta stop with these games that are just heartbeaters. You gotta stop. You gotta come.
Russell Wilson.
But honestly, you gotta stop. Like,
tell me why. Give me one reason.
Because you gotta come in. You look. This stretch with NFC West teams are gonna show like you gotta stop. You gotta blow teams out.
No, they won't.
You gotta blow teams out.
Here's the thing, Robert. I have no reason to believe and have any fear in the 49ers or the Rams or the Cardinals.
I'm saying you should.
Because they all aren't that good.
It doesn't matter.
They are mediocre at best teams.
It doesn't matter because you played the Dolphins and you played like that.
Fun fact, the Dolphins
played the Vikings and you
the
played
Dolphins, like that. Guess what? It doesn't matter because we still came out of the game with the W. That's all that matters.
Right,
at the end
yes,
of the day.
fine. But what I'm saying is you go to the next 4 or 5 weeks of the schedule, you're going to have games where you're going to come here in 3 weeks and go, excuse my language. Like, you're going to go, oh, crap.
I don't think so. I mean, the fact is we've given ourselves a buffer, like a good buffer that, like,
yeah.
The fact is we have, like, I think we have, like, the 28th easiest schedule going forward.
Yeah,
32 teams.
Yeah.
So, like, you still have to think about the fact that the Rams still have to play all the AFC teams that we played. The 49ers still have to play all the AFC teams. The Cardinals still have to play all the AFC teams.
I'm not saying they don't win the division. I'm not saying the Seahawks don't win the division.
Right,
I'm saying that they are going to go to the playoffs and they're going to I'm saying that they have to start actually blowing teams out.
See, but my thing is the reason why I'm not freaking out yet is because I've watched this team with Pete Carroll for a decade now.
and it's the same crap over and over.
Same story. You have a bad to mediocre offense, except for 2013.
Defense, yes.
In the defense in the first half of the season, and then something clicks, and they start just locking that shit down.
They're last year's Seahawks are an interesting case study with this. There's a reason they only went as far as they did, and it's because of those things. It's because of those type of games.
Well, not even that. I mean, you can argue that. You look at that. Well, here's the thing.
2013, they had bluffs, did they not?
Well, on defense, they didn't score a lot of points on off. All their points came from defense.
Yeah, pretty much.
And if you look at the last year, if you look at the Packers game,
yeah,
that was a game.
Defense got creamed.
I could make the argument that if we had the secondary we have this year.
The game would have been different. The game would have been different.
We would have won that game. The reason being is because we were getting just torched over the back. Mm-hmm. And that's my argument because we've been playing these 5 games basically with a non-existent, third stringers.
And you're still going to probably have that for a couple more weeks, maybe.
Well, we're getting Jamal Adams back. We're getting Dunbar back. We're getting our secondary back, which is a good start,
Yeah.
Moving on.
Let's go to these Green Bay Packers, actually.
Yeah.
So the first 2 drives of that game for the Packers, you're like, okay, this is the Packers offense. This is what they do. But are you looking at them now and going, what? Are you looking at them and going, okay, we know that this defense is bad, but they actually are bad. And that might hold them back because offensively speaking, there's a chance it could get rough at times here. What's your perception on the Packers after this game? Does it change how we feel about the Packers than we did on Friday or last week?
Well, first of all, I love the fact that Aaron Rodgers fanboys can shut up about saying, "Oh, Russell Wilson should be MVP. He's thrown 2 interceptions." Well, guess what? Now you have the same amount of interceptions, and Russell has way more touchdowns than you. Thank you very much. But anyway, to get my, Seahawks fandom out of the way. No, I was shocked. Didn't see it coming.
No one did. We thought this would actually be a competitive game, and it was horrible.
Yeah, I actually think this showcased the Buccaneers a lot better than I thought they would be, especially after coming off the game against the Bears. They looked like the better team.
Yeah, but before we kind of go back to the Packers, I do want to talk about the Bucs because I still am in a weird spot with Tampa Bay. where they just seem angry
Oh yeah.
and lost. Even in a win, you kind of felt like there was like a sigh of relief. Like they know this is going to happen again. Like they know what happened on Thursday night with the Bears is probably going to happen again at some point. So that this game felt more to me like a sigh of relief for the Bucs than a happy win.
We know what it is. I'm gonna give you one guess. What I'm gonna say.
It's Brady and Arians and
Yeah.
yeah.
I think, man, Tom Brady. He just like seems like a very unhappy little man whenever he loses. Like he just doesn't take losing well.
Well, I understand that from, wanting to, win all the time and stuff, especially for a guy like Brady who's done it for so long. But I also think Arians kind of perpetuates it a little bit more.
Yeah,
And
just
on
a little
top,
bit.
and on top of that, like I really feel like there's still like a sense of friction because I came out of that game going, this is just a sigh of relief. And guys like Evans are still dealing with injuries. Godwin had a great day as expected, but I still don't really, the offense has a bunch of weapons, but let's kind of, let's get to actually winning football and not feeling like there's something eerily wrong about this team and their attitude.
Yeah. It's like they don't seem like they're having fun.
And they're a team that should be having fun. Look at that offense.
Yeah, they look like they should be like just going through the air like that. It looks like an offense that should be air raiding it.
Yeah, like they should be playing Kansas City style of just like let's have fun and throw.
Except because Tom Brady, it turns out, is old and now he can't throw it air raid style. They're having to run the ball, which not complaining from a fantasy perspective here because I'm killing it.
I don't think I'm complaining from any perspective because let's be honest. We've been waiting for Ronald Jones to have games like this for a long time.
We've been waiting for him to pop off.
And then once Fournette comes back, that's going to be nice, I think.
I personally think Fournette, it sucks to be him, but like
Ronald Jones, you're on the Bucs.
It sucks to be him because he's not going to get much playing time.
Yeah, I don't know. I think they're going to ease. I think they're going to ease him back on the field.
Nah,
I really do.
But we'll see.
We will see. Broncos and the Patriots. This is another strange one today. Broncos offensively played terrible.
Yeah.
You could make an argument that both teams played abysmal.
No, see what you're missing here is it wasn't the Broncos versus the Patriots. It was Brandon McManus versus the Patriots.
Out of field goals.
24 points in fantasy today from a kicker. How do you lose to a team that scores only field goals?
Mm-hmm. I will say this about the Patriots. This game doesn't identify the Patriots because I really feel like the Patriots with all this COVID stuff, and honestly, it's been unfortunate in the scheduling and everything. I feel like that's a huge reason why they lost this game.
Yeah.
I don't think it had anything to actually do with the team.
Yeah.
I think it had to do with all those outside stuff, the COVID stuff and everything. It's not an identity game for me. It's not a game that I look at and go, oh, yeah, this is what they are. No.
I do think one of their problems is they really haven't been able to bond as a team. I just don't feel like that sort of chemistry there. Also, it was interesting. I have a question to ask you about. I was listening to the radio on the drive home, and they were saying that they believe that this game is basically already only 6 games in. They're counting the Patriots out this season. Like they're saying they're not going to make the playoffs. Do you agree with that?
No. You know how we talked about the Niners last year, and I told you, that Washington game was a dud because it was in the mud, and there was like another game they had earlier in the year that was kind of what I called a dud game. Like it didn't represent them. Remember how we talked about that? This is a dud game. It doesn't matter. Again, look back to Patriots Seahawks. When was that? Week 2, week 3, and what we talked about then. That's what the Patriots are as a team. Not the past 2 weeks, but particularly this week. They're a playoff team. They are, in my opinion, they are. How can we flip this much? Okay, like how can we flip from that Seahawks game, that Seahawks Patriots game where I was like, oh, Cam Newton, oh, the Patriots, and we're talking about they're a playoff team, to 3 weeks later we're like, they're not a playoff team and they look garbage. Huh?
I see
How
them
does that make sense?
I see them as a playoff team, but like
that's it. I don't see them any more than a playoff team.
I think they're like a 7th seed.
Yeah,
I don't see them, and I don't see them going very far.
No, I'm not saying that at all. But
right, but they're at least a playoff team. Like
are you really? So basically what we're doing is we're ignoring that Seahawks Patriots game. We're ignoring that game against the Dolphins week 1. Are we seriously just gonna ignore it? Like, let's not. I know for some of these matchups we're gonna have some recency bias, but can we not have it with this team? Like, relax.
Well,
they had a difficult 2 weeks.
I'm just bringing the question off of what I heard on the radio. Like, and the reason I wanted to bring it up is because I thought it was an absolutely absurd take to have, because it's week 6 and like this is not a team that's played extraordinarily bad for most of the season.
And it's a team that's dealt with, like, I really feel like the COVID stuff matters here. I feel like it does. I feel like because they're having positive tests every week. And again, I actually think the Patriots have done a good job in managing this pandemic, and they still have cases. I really, like, honestly, I feel like that's a huge reason why they're at why they've struggled, where they struggled this week. I do. I don't think they were in the right mindset to play. I think you would be too stressed out in that situation. Am I fair to say that? Like, am I wrong? Like, I don't know. Talking about the Patriots, I don't think this is a game that you can say, oh, this is what they are. What the Patriots are is what they did against the Seahawks.
That's fair. Yeah.
We didn't finish up the Packers. So let's go back there. Defensively, are the Packers garbage?
Oh yeah.
Because to me, they look garbage.
Yeah.
And like, if this offense, like, do you feel like, and that was one of the biggest things, like, we were so mesmerized by the Packers offense. I don't think we paid 2 cents to that defense. That defense isn't very good, if at all. And so Aaron Rodgers is going to have to carry this offense to anything right now. Do you feel that way? Like, do you feel like it has to be all on this offense to make it work?
Yeah, I think the offense is, I mean, if you look at all the wins they've had, the offense has kind of carried them, you know?
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Let's talk about the Browns and the Steelers. You wrote in the chat the Browns are who we thought they were.
Yeah.
Go ahead and explain that, please.
So, we talked about this on Friday. And I think we brought up the conversation about the Browns only beating teams that are the teams they should be beating, right? And like they haven't beaten anybody good, which, don't get me wrong, like, good for the Browns. This is an organization that's been absolute dog crap for the last like decade.
No, not even decade, 100 freaking years.
Yeah, well, they've had iterations of their team that's been good, but look, like, congratulations, like, good for you. You're doing better than being mediocre. You're like probably gonna end up maybe 8-8, whatever. You might even make the playoffs this year, but you are still not anywhere close to competing for the division. The Steelers are like the big dogs, and y'all.
The Ravens are there too in that division.
I mean, you competed. They competed. They got some licks in, but like, man, the reason I said they are who we thought they were is because they are who we thought they were. They're not losing to the teams they should win, but like,
yeah,
that's all I can say.
it was strange because we were super excited for this game. We know the history between these two. Baker, yeah, I think
Flop.
injuries. I think injuries are a big. Like, I don't even think he should have played.
I was
Um,
shocked that they had some of the guys they were playing. I mean, they had Baker, they had Jarvis, they had Odell. Jarvis was playing with like a hip and a rib. I mean, that man's gonna be
and
like,
Odell had some like non-COVID
yeah.
related flu-like symptoms or whatever he had.
I feel
So,
like they were just pushing players out there at this point. Like,
and I was like, okay, why though? You're 4-1, like, and Baker got hurt again.
yeah,
So, yeah, I would have liked to see Keenum play that whole game.
yeah,
I mean, again, I think injuries are a huge part for a lot of these teams, more so than past years, and we've mentioned why, of course, with the preseason and everything. But for a lot of these teams, including the Browns, it's really the story of the season where it's just like, yeah, injuries, guys probably shouldn't play, especially that it's this early in the year. But yeah, Steelers, I think we can safely say they're Super Bowl contenders right now.
oh yeah.
Safely.
I wouldn't be shocked to see Steelers Titans as a AFC Championship game.
Me neither.
But
This Steelers defense is phenomenal, and we saw it last year too. But like
yeah,
Big Ben here, man, and the emergence of Chase Claypool, James Washington had a
yeah.
good day. Juju's had a rough go of it, but it's Juju, you know.
One interesting,
The depth of
yeah,
receivers phenomenal. And with
yeah,
this defense, it's a championship winning defense. That's just the reality.
yeah. One interesting thing to watch out is their depth kind of went down a little bit today with a big injury to Devin Bush
Devin Bush.
out of Michigan. He tore his ACL out for the rest of the season. I mean, again, that's like how many ACLs this season?
It's a lot.
It's ridiculous, and this will be a
it's too much.
conversation. This will be a conversation to. I'm writing this down, and this will be a conversation for us to have after the season's over, because like something needs to change. I mean,
Yeah.
they need. I don't even think it's like not playing. I don't even think it's the whole not playing preseason games. I think it's legitimately trainers need to be doing more like strength training for legs and muscles because this is ridiculous.
You know what? Speaking of that, I would love to. I don't know if any athletic trainer of any NFL team is listening to this or anybody on an athletic training staff. Come on this show because
I would love to talk to someone about that
because I feel because honestly, I mean, I took sports medicine in high school. That's not even enough. I want to talk to someone in an organization about this because I feel like I feel like we don't know enough information. You know, I feel like in some way I'm not enough informed to have this conversation critically. I would love to have an athletic trainer or an athletic training staff member of any NFL team come on this show and have this conversation. Because I think that would for me, that's where I would go. Because I don't know how to comment on it. I don't know how to comment on all the injuries. I don't know how to do it.
Yeah.
Because I don't want to be unfair to the training staffs. I don't want to be unfair to the medical doctors in the NFL. I don't know. I think I would love to have an athletic trainer, NFL team athletic trainer to come on this show and have an honest conversation about this.
And I think, look, at the end of the day, you can argue that like, oh, they're freak accidents, but like when you have like 10 to 12, I think it's about 10
something around there
ACLs in the first 6 weeks of the season. I mean, I think week 3 you had like 5 alone in the 10 o'clock hour.
Yeah.
I mean, it's
a little. It's definitely more this year. I don't know if it's because there's some like practicing stuff with COVID that could be it. Again, I would like to have a professional from an NFL team come on this show and talk about it because I feel really uninformed when it comes to this stuff. Injuries are a really complicated topic. You know, so
definitely.
So yeah, definitely open invitation again because I would love to have a conversation about this. The Colts. They threw the ball deep finally.
Yeah.
Or at least somewhat. I mean, this offense, even with the short passes for Phillip Rivers, that got him the win today. Because this Bengals defense is terrible. It doesn't matter what kind of lead Joe Burrow has. The Bengals defense is so bad, they're bound to lose, unfortunately.
Yeah. I don't have a ton to say about this game because like this game bored me and I didn't really watch it.
It was what it like. The only takeaway is the Colts actually looked better on offense than last week.
Yeah.
And that could probably be due to this Bengals defense just being brutal.
Yeah.
The Bengals are not a benchmark team for anybody. Just what it is.
One game I really want to talk about is the Titans and the Texans.
That's where I was going to go next.
And this is a game that actually will lead us right into our hot take segment because this was this game is what got me thinking about the hot take segment. So, Titans and Texans. I don't believe the Titans deserve to win this game. I think they got outplayed, even though the Texans technically gave up more yards and more points. I believe if you watch this game from beginning to end, you will see that the Texans, for the most of it, played better, in my opinion.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Here's my thing with this game. It was just bizarre.
Oh yeah.
Like it's that like, okay, the Titans, they're good. They're really good. Let's not get it twisted. They're top end AFC East, maybe top end NFL teams, and they deserve to be in that category. But I feel the same way about the Texans that I do the Falcons today. Get rid of that coaching staff. Get rid of that head coach, and you play like you should. This Texans team played like they should today, and they didn't win. Maybe they should have. I don't know, but my biggest takeaway from this game is I'm still a Titans believer. I'm even more of a believer even after this game, and it wasn't pretty, but I'm even more of a believer in what they can do. And for the Texans, and same with the Falcons in that game against the Vikings, new coach does a lot of wonders for you. It's what it is. When you're a good team, a new coach does a lot of wonders for you when you're actually a good team and not a 1-5 team or an 0-5 team. You shouldn't be that, at least.
Yeah. I think honestly, I think the Texans are better than people give them credit for. And we said this at the beginning of the year, right? We said this after week 1.
We were just like, don't panic.
They have the talent, you know?
Yeah.
I mean, they got Cooks, they got Fuller, they've got Deshaun, they've got
Darren Fells hasn't been bad. I mean, he's been hurt a bit, but he hasn't been terrible.
Yeah. I mean, their running game is pretty good.
It's not pretty, but it works.
Right, it gets it done. It's like the Seahawks defense, you know? It's
not pretty.
You like say like, oh, look away, but then at the end you look back at it and you're like, oh, sweet, we like won the game, or we got a
works.
touchdown.
Yeah, no, it's not pretty. It works though.
Yeah,
it works though.
And this leads me into our new segment, right?
Mm-hmm.
Called "Putting It on the Table."
Sure, put it on the table.
Put it on the table. In this segment, we put our dumb thoughts about across the league on the table. And these could be as hot of a take as you want. They can be logical, they can be illogical, they can be whatever. And we respond to them and we let you know. And this is putting it on the table. And you guys can respond to our hot takes as well on our Facebook page or whatever.
And Instagram page.
We'll probably, and the best comments we will feature on the show.
Perfect.
So my first hot take is this. I believe that the Houston Texans are a team in desperate need of rebuilding. Correct. That is not the hot take part. Even though they are in desperate need of rebuilding, they're not exactly in a position to rebuild because they can't because they don't have their first 2 picks.
They don't have draft picks and they don't have cap.
So this is how you fix it. You take your hero of New York you take the hero of Houston, JJ Watt, you slap a for sale sign on him, you push him out the door, and you say, teams, do your worst. Give us all your damn picks. Because that takes away so much cap. Much cap.
It does. I mean, you put dead cap. I mean, it's a good amount of dead cap too. You can't. And here's why. Optically, it looks horrible.
I mean, look, here's the thing. The Texans, they are in a position. They're in a position where they can't afford to give a shit about optics.
They have to.
No.
They don't have a choice. They don't have a choice.
Do you think the Dallas Cowboys give two craps about optics? No.
Yes, they do.
No, they don't.
Their whole team is about optics.
That's kind of fair. But like, look, here's the thing. Like,
it's horrible because JJ Watt is Houston, and optically, if you trade JJ Watt, what you're saying is we're trading the farm. Deshaun Watson is also available, even though he's not. Like, legit, people are going to freak out and be like, Deshaun Watson is available.
It should be. Because
Deshaun Watson should be available?
No, not Deshaun Watson.
I know, but I'm saying, like, people, like, if they trade J.J. Watt, even for, like, 2 picks, like, let's say a couple of first and a second, people are going to be like, Deshaun's on the block. Even though it's not true. That's what it is. That's optics. That's how this business works.
Yeah.
You can't do it even if you want to. And if I'm the Texans, you know what? They're the Houston Rockets right now. Same city. They're the Houston Rockets. Just ride the thing out. See how it works. There's not much more you can do. You just can't. And it's all Bill O'Brien's fault, let's be honest.
Yeah. I will not be shocked if the Houston Texans end up going on a winning streak towards the end of the year.
Mm-hmm.
I just don't think they're going to be this bad, and I think in 3 or 4 years they will be one of the better teams in their division again.
Same with Atlanta. I put the same stuff on Atlanta as I do Houston.
Well, yeah, that was actually about to be my Atlanta was going to be the focus of my second hot take, and you're going to probably be shocked by this, like actually like blustering shocked, but I believe that old man Matt Ryan will not see another year in Atlanta after this year.
You're wrong.
I believe Matty Ice is starting to defrost. I just
defrost.
Atlanta has made it clear.
Is it Icelana, not Hotlanta?
Yeah, I mean, Atlanta has made it clear that they are looking to they're looking to become under new management, and having a quarterback that's been there through an old system, it just doesn't work. He is the one part of that team, honestly, he's the last part of that team that needs to go. He needs to be it. They need to start fresh.
So again, as with Houston, the reality is the cap is too much for them to even think about restarting. And I also would say this about Houston as I would with Atlanta. These are the 2 greatest jobs ever opened in the NFL over the last decade.
I'm very curious to see what coaches take them, because I think if the right coaches take these 2 jobs, these 2 teams could shoot to the top. They have a lot of very talented players.
So again, this kind of you're counteracting your point.
But I'm saying at the same time, I don't believe that Matty Ice is as good. He's not that great anymore, you know? He was pretty good at one point. Not anymore.
He needs I can't believe well look, he's pretty old now, he's 30. Just like Jared Goff to some degree, but even better, he just needs tutelage. He needs the right coaching staff. But you admit
that Jared Goff is a puppet.
It's not a puppet. This is not a puppet argument. It's a tutelage argument. Listen, my point with Matt Ryan is he is very good.
Okay.
He is. And he showed it today. He is a good quarterback, but every quarterback needs his guy. Patrick Mahomes has this guy in Andy Reid. Aaron Rodgers, let's be honest, has this guy now in Matt LaFleur. You need a guy. That's how this league works. You need a guy that pushes you and puts you in the right spot. And you know who that guy was for Matt Ryan? Kyle Shanahan.
That's true.
They should have kept Kyle Shanahan and they should have put him at head coach, and then Atlanta would have actually been a really good team the last few years. It's what it is. Atlanta, I'm even saying this with Jared Goff, but every quarterback needs guys that are tooled, like needs people to like help them. That's what it is. And some guys do better than others. I would say McVay does a pretty good job with Goff in all honesty, but this isn't a Goff conversation. This is Matty Ice. Look, Matty Ice is a good quarterback. He just gets an unfair brunt of the criticism on this team. I really do. I think the main criticism had to go on Dan Quinn. I think it showed today when Dan Quinn was gone. This team is much better. And this defense, unfortunately, constantly ravaged by injuries. But even without that, this defense isn't very good. Matt Ryan's not getting any favors on this team. So I can't blame it all on Matt Ryan because he's just not getting many favors. You could even say the same thing with Sam Darnold too. There we go. I'm adding another quarterback in this discussion. You could say the same thing with Sam Darnold. I'm sorry. That he's getting unfair criticism. He just is. And with Darnold, I really do feel like he's regressed. That's a whole separate thing. But at least with Matt Ryan, I feel like it's completely unfair. And I think this game showed why it's unfair. He's the right quarterback for this team, at least for the next 3 years, which I think his contract is for 3 more years. He's the right guy for this team. He just needs a coaching staff that can help him. And he needs that actually healthy defense that can contribute. But it's not on him. It isn't. And by the way, stop playing Brian Hill as much as you are. You have Todd Gurley. Todd Gurley's been playing pretty well in the snaps he's getting. Why is Brian Hill on the field as much as he is? I don't understand. I love Brian Hill. He's my dude. I like him a lot. But he doesn't need to see the field as much as he is.
Anyway, this is I don't know if you have any hot takes, but because you're just Mr. Anti-hot take, but
I'm not really Mr. Anti-hot take. I just don't really have anything with this slate.
Anyway, well, this has been laying it on the table. Hope you enjoyed. Back to regular programming.
Okay. The regular programming continues with the Bears. They're 5-1. Do we believe in them at all? Like, do we?
No.
Like, they're 5-1, and it's like they're the only team where I look at their record and go, they probably should be like 3-2.
I'm trying to think back. There was a couple years ago where there was one team that went that did really, really well in the regular season, and they got crapped on in the first game. Oh, who could that be? It starts with an R. A-V. Oh, that's right, the Ravens. Oh, that's right.
Wait, how are you comparing the Ravens and the Bears?
I'm comparing them because they both were teams that had super easy schedules, and they got a lot of love going into the playoffs, and then they sucked.
Why are we loving the Bears?
Because I'm not loving them. I'm just confused. There's a handful of teams this year that I'm like, how?
But listen. Now we've mentioned scheduling in the past, but here's my problem. My problem with the Bears is stop overreacting to the god dang record. They're 5-1, and yes, they beat the Bucs. That game was bizarre too. I'd be honest, we know what the Bears are. They might make the playoffs, sure,
but
we know what they are, and and people are like, they're 5-1. Oh, they must be good. Record doesn't mean everything. Record means something in week 12.
The Seahawks would beg to differ.
Also, again, we go back to the Seahawks and the fact that they've won close games, and it's exhausting. But that's all different.
Here's the thing. The Bears, to me, right? They are...
I keep laughing because a lot of these teams at this point are just funny 6 weeks in.
They are nobodies. They are teams full of just cast-offs. And somehow, It's not even somehow. It's their defense. Let's be honest here.
It's not even their defense. It's their schedule.
Yeah,
Their defense
actually,
is not even
I'm
ranked that high.
I'm looking this nonsense up.
I keep laughing for a lot of these teams because we keep kind of banging the same notes, but the reason why is because it's what it is.
I mean, you look at so they played the Lions, the Giants, the Lions, Giants, Bears, oh my. No, they're playing the Lions, the Giants, and the Falcons, the Colts, the Buccaneers, and the Panthers today. So Lions suck, Giants suck, Falcons suck, Colts are okay.
Falcons sucked at that time. Colts are probably better than we thought.
Buccaneers suck.
Buccaneers, that was not, they don't suck, but it was a weird game that made it feel like they sucked.
The Panthers took too long today to get going.
Yeah.
Then after that they play Rams, Saints, Titans, Vikings, Packers, Lions, Texans, Vikings, Jaguars, Bears.
Saints. Watch the Saints game. Watch the Saints game. That's gonna be nuts.
That's a loss, win, loss.
I don't even know at this point.
Win, loss. So they're gonna be very bad, in my opinion. But Saints game, I don't know. They're like, I think the Saints will beat them.
Yeah.
They play. It's interesting because they do get a Monday Night Football primetime game against the Vikings. So,
yeah.
Yeah.
We kind of already. I mean, is our opinion on the Eagles changed much, if at all, after this game?
No.
I don't think so.
They're just,
again, laughing again.
They're the Eagles. I mean, why are we even talking about these teams?
Like, we already know what they are at this point.
There's only like 5 teams to really talk about, and we've already talked about all the teams that actually matter.
It's really annoying how, and this is what's so surprising about this. Normally, 12 weeks in, 12 weeks in, we act like after Thanksgiving, we kind of understand where everyone's at. But it is weird that we're kind of like at the midway point before Thanksgiving. And some teams we understand, some we don't, and some are just like their record doesn't say anything. It's such a weird mix of teams this year already. And a lot of that has to do with the injuries. A lot of that has to do with random weird scheduling quirks. I think the whole league this year through 6 weeks just feels weird.
Yeah.
It just feels weird ultimately. And that's kind of why we're keep talking about not necessarily the same things, but like the overall idea. I think what we're doing today is painting a picture of the overall idea of what this league is right now. Yeah. And it's not a bad thing, but at the same time, it's also bizarre. To finish off, look, actually, before we get to the last point that I wanted to make, the Washington against the Giants. That game was also strange in that Kyle Allen looked terrible. Daniel Jones, he doesn't have help. Yet that game was close. Like, sometimes these Giants games are just really close, even when the team isn't very good. Did you kind of feel that way?
Yeah, it was definitely close. I think they're both not. They're not great teams, but they have peace. They have stuff that can make them better,
Yeah. I think they have a really interesting competitive edge where every week you're like, oh, Washington's playing, the Giants are playing. But you're not like, ugh. You're like, oh, this might be interesting. It's kind of wild. And then talking about this game as well, I actually have a complaint. I'd like to file a formal complaint with the Washington football team coaching staff, particularly Riverboat Ron. Stop going for 2, please. This ain't the Panthers with Cam Newton. This is Kyle Allen, okay? Stop going for 2. Stop going for 2. Like, you had the field goal and you could go in overtime. This is not Carolina. This is Washington. Take the points. Take the field goals. Is that a fair argument?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's just, yeah, it's annoying. It's honestly gotten to the point where it's just annoying.
Yeah.
Finally, Jets-Dolphins wasn't a great game, if at all. It's time to fire Adam Gase. It's simple with the Jets, but I didn't want to talk about the Jets. Nor did I want to talk about how great Fitzpatrick looked. I want to talk about Tua. We saw a bit of him towards the end of the game, but I think one of the most incredible images of the year so far, and I'll try to find it as we're talking about it.
I think I've seen the image.
Yeah. Of Tua on the field after the game. And I really wanted to speak on this because I think it was really cool to see that, you know, and Shane and I have talked about like the sort of unlikelihood of these guys getting into the league and all these things. But to see Tua be on the field after that game and for him to realize, like, yeah, I'm the future of this franchise. It might not be right now, but I know I'm the future of this franchise. And on top of that, every touchdown that Ryan Fitzpatrick throws, guess who's right next to him after he throws the touchdown pass?
Who?
Tua. He's literally right next to him celebrating. He loves this role. He knows he's the future, but he loves Fitzpatrick. He loves the mentorship he gets from him. It's honestly amazing to see. And I can't find the image right now, but it's honestly amazing to see Tua sort of embrace the process and embrace what it actually is like to be a rookie. And he sees, you know, Herbert playing out of his mind, Burrow playing out of his mind, and in the back of his head somewhere, he's probably like, it sucks that I'm not playing. But he recognizes the process and he recognizes what this team is and what it can become. But ultimately, he's just relishing in the fact that he's an NFL quarterback. And I think that's something that we don't think about is how hard it is for these players to even get to the NFL. And I think seeing Tua on the field after the game kind of said all of those things to me in one photo. What did that photo signify to you?
I think it's like to me it's everything coming full circle for someone.
Mm-hmm.
Like a photo like that is kind of like a holy crap moment, you know?
Yeah.
It's just that moment of like being a small like one speck in such a giant stadium, and you know he was imagining what it would be like having that whole place full.
Yeah.
Like no, and in his mind he had to be thinking, I'm gonna be the one to bring glory back to this stadium and bring thousands of people and make it full, because he would have seen what it was like during the Super Bowl.
Yeah.
You know, and like he's gonna be the future. Like Fitzpatrick is not the future. He's the future. And like Fitzpatrick's been he's played really well, but who knows how long he's gonna play.
Yeah.
This photo, I mean,
it's incredible.
I do have to wonder though, why would they put him on the field this year? I don't believe he should have played.
Nah, I
There's
don't.
No reason.
I don't either, but it was like the last few minutes of the game and it was pointless. So
Yeah.
I think they're trying to do anything to keep Fitzpatrick healthy too. Yeah. I think that's part of it. Yeah.
But anyway.
And then you know, Cameron Wolf here also explains that injury that he had to his hip too. And I assure you, he was thinking of that as well. It's yeah. I mean, I think this is an image that really defines this season as well, and maybe even our lives in some way too of quarantine and feeling pretty lonely and stuff. It's I think this is one of the best images I've seen taken on an NFL field in a very long time. It's pretty incredible.
Yeah.
And then to finish off, we did the Monday and Tuesday, or did the Monday night doubleheader on Friday, so you can go back and check that out. We did a pretty good deep dive on those. Fantasy Star MVPs for the week. Shane takes Derrick Henry, who he was playing against this week, which definitely frustrated him as he's playing Matthew Vo. Shout out to him. Who is your MVP for this week?
My MVP for the week is a joint team between Young Hoku and Brandon McManus.
The kickers, kicker love.
2 dominant kickers. Young Hoku getting 20 points for me, and then Brandon McManus getting 24 points. I mean, it's very rare that you see kickers dominating so hard, but
yeah, I mean, we've had 20-point kickers every week this year, which has been amazing. Says a lot about the offenses.
yeah.
But this is definitely one of those weeks where it's just amazing to see the kickers kick. Okay, kickers are fun to watch too.
Oh yeah,
fantasy. My MVP for the week has to also another nominee again from my team. I had a crazy day in fantasy. This has been my best day. I finished with 137 points.
Wow.
Which is just unbelievable. I've never had a fantasy day like that.
I finished 0.1 below you. I finished with 136.9.
And the reason why I say that is because I finished with 100 points right as the 1:00 game started.
I think I was at something like 99 or something.
Yeah, we were pretty close. But the fact that like everybody on my team produced, and that's just hard. That's just hard to figure out. You always seem to have one dud every week.
Yeah.
Which I may have some duds on the Monday night slate, but either way.
And that's the thing. I still have Travis Kelce and CD Lamb to go tomorrow night.
Yeah, so. I have Buckkirk, Edwards-Helaire, and Kyler Murray. Edwards-Helaire, I'm very interested to see how he'll work with Le'Veon, but everyone fantasy-wise is still quite excited about him for some reason. There's some maybe unnecessary panic with him right now, I feel like.
Yeah.
But my MVP, again, back to my team. I've had David Montgomery be the MVP for the Thursday night games. I have James Robinson be an MVP for one of the Thursday night games. Going back to my team, Justin Jefferson. What the heck? 39.6 points on an offensive day for the Vikings that was abysmal at best. To have 39.6 points is amazing. Just incredible. So I'm going to go back to my team and give my man the MVP. He's literally becoming one of my favorite players in the league right now. He's just so fun to watch. Just an amazing route. One of my favorite things is he's just an awesome route runner. He seems to get himself in. He just seems to get himself into position. And you know what? I also want to talk about another receiver, speaking on fantasy, which you picked up this week, Chase Claypool. We didn't really get a chance to really deep dive into him last week. What do you like about Claypool? I mean, he's just been an absolute revelation the last 2 weeks.
He's just all over the place. He can do everything. I mean, he like ran the ball in for a touchdown as a running back. Like, he's a wide receiver and he's running it as a running back. It's insane. And then when he's also very smart because when he was running it in, he like came around and he dipped down and like put the ball in front of the pylon as he was running over, so that there was absolutely no way that they could say, "Oh, this isn't a touchdown."
Mm-hmm.
It was like right in front of the pylon cam. So there's a really smart play.
It's and again, like, this is why the Steelers didn't need Antonio Brown. It's so, like, once Claypool got drafted, I was like, okay, I don't know if they're going to use him as a receiver or a tight end. Like, I remember Claypool, people were thinking he has kind of a tight end build. He kind of slimmed down in the offseason. But the Steelers with their receiving core, man, every receiver they touch turns to gold.
Yeah.
It's like it's on Juju, James Washington last year, and he played pretty well today. Like, Dante Johnson. Like, these guys become names. Like I don't know how they do it, but like Pittsburgh is receiver heaven. It just is. There's no other team that does receivers as well as the Pittsburgh Steelers. There just isn't.
Yeah.
No. All right, and that's it for today. Thank you, Brandon, for joining me. Always great. Always great to do the show. As always fun. So we'll be back again on Friday. Another large week of games, week 7. Hopefully we don't have any more postponements or anything. Hopefully it's smooth sailing. But week 7 should be fun. Is it crazy that we're 7 weeks into the season?
Just a little bit.
Pretty incredible. Pretty incredible stuff. All right, we will see you all on Friday. Have a great weekend, have a great week, everybody. Actually, have a wonderful week.